What's going on, everybody? GemMint here, and a lot of you guys have been asking me to give my thoughts on the X-Men 97 animated series. So I'll do you one better. I'll give you my thoughts on those first two episodes and the first issue comic book that's in stores this week. So the animated series, they stay true artistically, visually, the sounds to the original series, which is a huge plus in my book. The art style is very familiar, although slightly modernized, especially the parts where it's like close up and they're speaking to you. Jubilee notably had a lot of expression in her face and audibly as well. So they hired some of the same voice actors, but I'd be lying if I didn't say it didn't sound exactly the same. Surprise. So it's a little jarring hearing Wolverine sound a little bit different. Jubilee sounds the same. Rogue sounds a little bit different, a little bit more twang in her slang. Storm sounds exactly the same. So there are some noticeable differences, but I mean, this is 30 years later, so that's to be expected. What they do well in the animated series is what they did well in the original, which is stay true to the source material, grabbing stories from the comics and adapting them into animation. So we have here a world where Professor Xavier is seemingly dead, and you have Magneto taking up the role as headmaster, which leads into him with New Mutants, and we get New Mutants in these episodes with Roberto da Costa, Sunspot. So we get that stuff. We get Jean Grey pregnant with Scott's baby, so that's interesting. We know that's going to be Cable. We know from the comics that it's not really Jean Grey who births Cable, so playing with the Madeline Pryor stuff already. And yeah, the Magneto stuff, that costume from Uncanny X-Men 200. And speaking of costumes, the internet is up in roars about Gambit's crop top. And if you have a problem with that crop top, you probably didn't grow up in the 90s, and it takes a certain build to be able to pull off that look. I personally couldn't pull it off, but I didn't think twice of it when I saw it. I dug the whole dynamic between Gambit and Rogue, but man, they're going Age of Apocalypse here with Rogue and Magneto a little bit. So interesting stuff. I think that the X-Men 97 animated series is definitely worth the watch. As somebody, again, who grew up with the original animated series, since I was a kid, I watched it on Fox Saturday morning cartoons. It's taking a little bit of getting used to. It's not exactly the same, but I think they do their best to pay homage to the original series and try to stick as close to it as possible. So those are my thoughts on the X-Men 97. I definitely am going to catch episode 3, and I'll probably continue to watch the rest of the series. To my surprise, pleasant surprise, there is an X-Men 97 issue 1 comic book that comes out this week, and it's a prequel of sorts to the first episode, so I thought that was pretty cool. Here we have the cover art here, and as you can see, it feels like the animated series. Bishop is on the main team now, which is cool. You got Jubilee, Beast, you know, all the characters. So this is written by Steve Fox, art by Salva Espin, colorist Matt Milla, and letterer Joe Sabino. So this opens up and you have Magneto terrorizing Times Square. Classic Magneto. He's got his energy field around him. You see an optic blast hit him from the side. It's Cyclops. The X-Men are here. They're going to save the day. In this quick battle with Magneto, we quickly find out that it's not a real battle. It's the X-Men training in the Danger Room. Now at this point, it's pretty early in terms of prequel because Jean Grey is not visibly pregnant in this issue, but in the first episode she is. She's already showing. It's well known that she's pregnant. But here we have Cyclops in his new role, leading the X-Men. This is still post the death of Professor X, so he's having kind of a struggle with telling them what to do rather than leading them. He's butting heads with Wolverine. And already you get to see the dynamic of Bishop and Jubilee. He already feels like he's part of the main team, which I don't feel like he really felt that way in the original animated series. So the bad guys here are the Friends of Humanity. They've kidnapped none other than Dazzler. Now, if you guys are keeping up with the Hot 10 comic book video that I do with Comic Tom, this first appearance of Dazzler, Uncanny X-Men 130, has been on fire ever since Deadpool 3 and rumors of Taylor Swift portraying Dazzler on screen. And I'm reading this comic and I'm like, there's no way Dazzler's the main character in this issue. Like, she's the main, I guess, protagonist or whatever. Not the protagonist, but they have to save Dazzler. So I thought that was interesting. She's scheduled to hold a concert in honor of Professor X. Jubilee was psyched. She waited in line for hours to get tickets. So the X-Men are going to go ahead and save Dazzler from the Friends of Humanity. So that's what's going on at X Mansion with the core team. We flash by, Gambit and Rogue are out on a date. She's looking for something to wear for the concert because she has to be fully garbed. Can't have concert goers bumping into her, touching their skin, absorbing all of their medical data, which she can do in the animated series. So that was one of the complaints, but I felt like this was well known. Rogue can siphon your powers, but also your skills. So she siphons like the doctor's skills to deliver Jean's baby, right? In the episode. All right, so you have the team dynamic, Jubilee busting Cyclops' chops, wanting to fly the Blackbird. That's not going to happen. I like how X-Men, they want to covertly, stealthily rescue Dazzler. And when they show up, Rogue busts through the door. She's already beaten them to the punch with Gambit. So not performing well as a team already. That's kind of like an interesting dynamic here. Now the X-Men are together. They're going against the Friends of Humanity. You have these action scenes. Jubilee's doing her thing. They find Dazzler. They save her. She still is going to do the concert. And that's when we get introduced to Valerie Cooper. So she's the UN liaison on mutant affairs. She is working to improve human-mutant relations, but she has some Friends of Humanity members on her team already, so it's not a good look. But Cyclops agrees. They're trying to cooperate. They want to work with the humans. Then you get a quick shot of that Friends of Humanity member who is with her. I mean, he's obviously a bad guy. Wolverine sniffs right away. The scent's familiar, can't really place it. This video is brought to you by Ninja Funk Bad Music #1. Following the battle at Ninja Funk Dojo and the capture of BB, Bad Music retreats to their headquarters at the Nexus. With the love of Laser Wolf's life as irresistible bait, there's no doubt in Queen Bad's mind that her nemesis will come knocking and she's ready for him. Will Laser Wolf, JPG McFly, and Wolfgang see the trap for what it is or run headlong into disaster? Find out in Ninja Funk Bad Music #1 in stores April 17th. X-Men team shoots back onto Xavier's mansion. Jean is trying to tell Scott that she's pregnant, but he is so focused on the team, on the mission, on the debrief. He keeps on like pushing her to the side. And it kind of gives you like this sad, feel bad for Jean Grey aspect to it. Wolverine takes notice. And also, you can tell this is a prequel because Storm in episode 1 has kind of the classic Mohawk look, and this is where she gets it. So in the beginning of this issue, she doesn't have it. She looks like regular Storm, and then she decides to change it up for the concert. So she has like this kind of a Mohawk mullet, if you will. And in the episodes, man, super sad. One of the big things here is that the Friends of Humanity try to take down Magneto with one of their depowering lasers, and it hits Storm instead. She sacrifices herself to save Magneto. I mean, not really knowing that it's going to take her powers, but that's what happens in the animated series, which is super sad too, because Storm's powers are like part of her identity as well. It's not just like she has claws, you know, it's like she is one with nature, and her inability to feel nature is super sad. All right, so Storm debuts her new look to the team. They're digging it. Scott did not go and see Jean Grey after the debrief. He actually went to the danger room with Wolverine to blow off some steam. Cyclops and Wolverine going at it. This is kind of a longer issue. It's like 33 pages or so. But a pretty cool fight scene between Cyclops and Wolverine. We get a cameo from Moira McTaggart. Beast is FaceTiming with her, trying to fix the time travel equipment so that Bishop can go back to his regular time. And Bishop has a lot of he's got a lot of play in this issue as well, kind of cracking jokes in here, fighting the Friends of Humanity, saying, hey, they don't even remember you in the future, or going back to see the rift between Cyclops and the rest of the team, saying, hey, the data banks never showed this kind of dynamic and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of Bishop here. Then we're at the concert. Bishop, they tell him to leave all his guns and ammo back on the Blackbird. Dazzler is starting her performance. She gets blasted by none other than the Nasty Boys. You nasty boy, you nasty. So there's a battle between Nasty Boys and Dazzler and the X-Men that are there at the concert. So we get another fight scene here. They fight off the Friends of Humanity and decide that the show must go on. So Dazzler continues with the concert. I mean, it's in honor of Charles Xavier, so they got to do what they got to do. Back at the mansion, Scott finally sees Jean Grey after dodging her all day. She tells him that she's pregnant, finally, and you have Wolverine looking super sad standing outside of the door. So, sad Wolverine. Then we get introduced to the man pulling the strings. Who sent the Nasty Boys to attack the X-Men and Dazzler at the concert, none other than Mr. Sinister, who played a big role in the original animated series. So cool to see him back in here. He punishes the Nasty Boys for failing to complete their mission. So that's pretty cool. And then we see who Mr. Sinister wants to contact next. And it's another batch of evil mutants, including Sabretooth, who is going to be on the cover of the next issue with Wolverine. So X-Men 97 issue 1, if you guys watched and dug the animated series, and if you read comics, you might as well pick this up. It ties into the show. This issue in particular acts like a prequel, and maybe we'll see seeds planted in these issues that later come out in the show or vice versa. But I dug it overall. It felt like the animated series. It felt like the new show that's out right now. So that's X-Men 97 issue 1. Shoot me your thoughts in the comments down below. I appreciate you watching. Stay minty fresh. Peace.